Hey, what's going on, everybody? This is David Brooks, the Cadillac Counselor, coming at you to tell you a little bit what's going on in my mind. And after last night watching this presidential address to the Congress, boy, I got some things to talk about on this one. Before I get into that, make sure that you subscribe. I love to see your comments and love to, every time you hit the like button, it just makes everything feel much better. It's going to be a little bit of uncut with a little bit of make it great without the hate, because, hey, they took it there, so I'm going to talk about it. I got a couple things I want to talk about Biden, and I want to talk about the GOP, Scott, that talked about some of the rebuttals. Let's get into this. Crisis and opportunity. This is what Biden was talking about while he was addressing the Congress. He said that he had a certain amount of vaccines that he planned to get out, and pretty much he doubled that. But let's really talk about this. Pharmaceuticals is behind pushing this. They're the ones making all the money on the back end. Do you think they weren't going to get all these vaccines out? I think there's a lot of variances coming out that is threatening our society, which is causing people to run to the vaccines even more. Now, I'm not against the vaccines. I think that it's something that is going to help the pandemic, so don't think that I'm against it, because I'm not. But the getting money back into the economy. And he made a very specific move when he talked about the unions. But if you notice, every time he talks about the unions, he comes right behind it and talks about minimum wage. If you know, like I know, back in the early 1900s, minimum wage came out, and it was driven to ultimately hold back the South from really working. And so for me, I'm always kind of suspect on this tie. I hate to say it, but some people just don't deserve a $15 wage, point blank. If the job is not worthy and you don't produce the amount of money that we pay you, what we're going to do, we're going to lose jobs. But the main thing that I want to talk to you guys about today is they always go to the race card. And I'm going to tell you my opinion. I'm going to show a little video of kind of the things that I'm talking about.
Don't ignore what our intelligence agencies have determined to be the most lethal terrorist threat to the homeland today. White supremacy is terrorism. We're not going to ignore that either. My fellow Americans, look, we have to come together to heal the soul of this nation. It was nearly a year ago, before her father's funeral, when I spoke with Gianna Floyd, George Floyd's young daughter. She's a little tyke, so I was kneeling down to talk to her, so I could look her in the eye. She looked at me, she said, "My daddy changed the world." Well, after the conviction of George Floyd's murderer, we can see how right she was, if we have the courage to act as a Congress. We've all seen the knee of injustice on the neck of Black Americans. Now's our opportunity to make some real progress. The vast majority of men and women wearing a uniform and a badge serve our communities, and they serve them honorably. I know them. I know they want to help meet this moment as well. My fellow Americans, we have to come together to rebuild trust between law enforcement and the people they serve, to root out systemic racism in our criminal justice system, and to enact police reform in George Floyd's name that passed the House already. I know Republicans have their own ideas and are engaged in very productive discussions with Democrats in the Senate. We need to work together to find a consensus. But let's get it done next month, by the first anniversary of George Floyd's death.
So that there was the Biden's opinion about kind of the race card. He didn't really go that deep into it. He just made it very clear that we need to take a deeper look into our society by using the neck. Now, I'm going to tell you now, George Floyd's family, I heard from some of my people in Houston, they balling right now. So I know that someone lost their life and all of that, but listen, people, it's bigger than that. And I want to listen to the rebuttal, and I'm going to give you my opinion at that point.
Common ground more desperately than in our discussions of race. I have experienced the pain of discrimination. I know what it feels like to be pulled over for no reason, to be followed around the store while I'm shopping. I remember every morning at the kitchen table, my grandfather would open the newspaper and read it, I thought. But later I realized he had never learned to read it. He just wanted to set the right example. I've also experienced a different kind of intolerance. I get called Uncle Tom and the N-word by progressives, by liberals. Just last week, a national newspaper suggested my family's poverty was actually privilege.
Now, the thing that gets me about this is that we all know that the race card was going to come out. And I think that the Republicans knew that this was going to be a hot topic with everything going on. So what do? You put the black man out in the front. Now, you might not think this is anything peculiar, but the reason why is because the things that he's talking about, if a white person would go up and say these same things, they would automatically call them a racist. No matter how they said it. They could have said it any way. They could have said it in a positive manner. Regardless, they would have been painted as a racist, especially in our today's climate. So this was a power move of putting a black man out there to rebuttal whatever was going to be said, just so that they could get to the topic of racism. Now, is this dude telling the truth about what he went through? I don't know. But I tell you one thing, is that we do know that there are racist things going on in our society right in front of our face. We had a murder of Asians. That was a racist thing. Then we have a lot of these other issues that keep coming up with police brutality. Even Confederate flag arguments have been getting really, really racist. Now, I'm not saying that the issues that we're talking about are really that racist, but if you go underneath it all and you get down to the people, a lot of the things that they are saying, a lot of the rhetorics that are being said are very racist, and we can't keep acting as if there is no racism going on at all.
When America comes together, we've made tremendous progress, but powerful forces want to pull us apart. 100 years ago, kids in classrooms were taught the color of their skin was their most important characteristic. And if they looked a certain way, they were inferior. Today, kids are being taught that the color of their skin defines them again. And if they look a certain way, they're an oppressor. From colleges to corporations to our culture, people are making money and gaining power by pretending we haven't made any progress at all, by doubling down on the divisions we've worked so hard to heal. You know this stuff is wrong. Hear me clearly. America is not a racist country. It's backwards to fight discrimination with different types of discrimination. And it's wrong to try to use our painful past to dishonestly shut down debates in the present.
I don't know about that. Like, we can't just say that America is not a racist country. We just cannot say that there's no racism here. I've heard Brandon Tatum say that. I've heard a lot of other people say that there is no racism in America. People, when we look at the Constitution, a lot of it was written when black people or people of color wasn't even looked at as a human, a full human. So yes, they didn't have to write stuff that were racist because we wasn't even relative to the conversation, people. Some of this stuff, now, a lot of things that he said I'm right on with him because I think that people are using the race card to create wealth. I think people are using the race card to end conversations that we need to be talking about. But I just don't feel that you can just say this is not a racist country. There is a lot of different, I think it's a prejudiced country. I think it's a stereotypical country. I think it's a profiling country. I think there's a lot of negative things. Now, do I think we have a blessed country? Yes, we do. Am I glad to be in this country? Yes, I am. But we just cannot turn an eye and just say it's not there. Come on now. Come on.
Race is not a political weapon to settle every issue the way one side wants. It's far too important.
Democrat, Republican. We can keep pointing fingers at each other and say, you're wrong, you're wrong, you're wrong, you're wrong. When it comes down to building the country and rebuilding the infrastructure, I'm all about whatever makes sense. But when it comes down to race, I just hope and I pray that we stop having to wait for politicians to fix our problems. We are the ones that need to fix the problem. We need to go out there and put our work on the ground. We need to teach our population how to be loving and how to be kind and how to transition into a loving atmosphere. Has the whole racism thing calmed down a little bit? Yes. But every time that one of these police officers shoots someone, we have another riot, we have another march, we have another protest. We've gotten to the point where we're protest happy every time there's something that looks racist. All right. Is everything racist that happens? No. Sometimes it's just somebody that made a mistake. But it's the things that we see over in North Carolina where people aren't showing videotapes and they're not putting it out in the open, then that starts to make it sound like there's something else to it. And that's what we're talking about. We don't trust each other. It's not about racism. We just don't trust each other. We don't even care. We don't even think North Carolina has a good reason for holding back those videotapes, those surveillance, those police cameras. Why? Because we just don't trust each other. People, after listening to Biden, after listening to Scott, we got two people talking about an agenda, people, about racism. Everybody's using it as a hot topic. That's why they got Scott out there, because he can talk about it and then rebuttal racism. But if he was white, it would be a problem. And that's what I'm saying. That's what the problem is, that we have to keep manipulating the conversation so that people don't always run to racism. People, I want to make it great. But let's just make it great without the hate. Let it go. We got to really fix this problem with a real solution, not just keep on making it a political topic during the address. Come on now. Let's make some real laws. Let's make some real progress. This is David Brooks, the Cadillac Counselor, coming at you to tell you a little piece of my mind. Bye.